Damien Echols spent 18 years on death row for a crime he didn't commit. As one of the West Memphis Three, he was falsely convicted of killing 3 young boys in Arkansas. He's a free man. He's also the author of the best-selling book Life After Death, now in paperback. I'm happy to have back Damien Echols. Damien, good to see you again. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you so much for having me back.
It's 20 years ago since the murders in West Memphis.
Right.
What do you feel when you hear about that kind of anniversary, given all you've been through?
It's very bizarre for me. I realized about halfway through the day that not only was it the 20th anniversary of the murders, it was also the 19th anniversary of my first execution date. I was sentenced to die on May 5th of 1994. And I think my life is getting better. Just, you know, the fact that I made it halfway through the day without even remembering that says something.
You're living in Salem, Massachusetts now with your wife, Laurie Davis, who you met and married while you're still on death row, and I've obviously had the pleasure of talking to Laurie before. How are the public with you when they realise who you are?
So far, every single person that's approached me has been 100% positive. You know, we get approached all the time, even on the subways here in New York, or people walk up to us in restaurants and everyone always says, "I'm sorry for what you went through." Especially in Salem, everyone always says, "Welcome to Salem, we're glad to have you here." It's actually been a really, really nice welcome.
There are 2 stories in the news at the moment which I wanted to talk to you about. You have no connection to them other than the fact they involve, in some way, the death penalty, which, of course, had you been executed, you would have been exonerated possibly after you were dead. The first is the Boston Marathon bombing suspect, Joe Harzanive. And there's an interesting link here because it's emerged that as a high school student, he was participating in a summer reading program, and he made this comment on a group discussion blog referencing the West Memphis Three, so you, obviously. He said this: "In this case, it would have been hard to protect or defend these young boys if the whole town exclaimed in happiness at the arrest. Also, to go against the authorities isn't the easiest thing to do. Don't get me wrong, though. I'm appalled at the situation, but I think the town was scared and desperate to blame somebody. It's because of stories like this and such occurrences that make a positive change in the world. I'm pretty sure there won't be any more similar tales like this. In any case, if they do, people won't stand quiet, I hope." What do you make of the fact that there's this guy, now one of the most notorious bomb suspects in the country, sort of waxing lyrical about you in that whimsical manner?
It's weird. You know, I guess whenever you hear something like that, it makes you wonder what went wrong. You know, you hear this young kid who's interested in social change and correcting injustices and things of this nature, and then all of a sudden, the next time you see him surface, he's blowing up innocent people. It makes you wonder what happened in the meantime.
Right. There's a big debate, obviously, as to whether, if convicted, he should be executed. What is your view?
I don't know. It's a very bizarre thing for me to even think about, having been on death row myself. I guess for me, having seen it firsthand, it's one of those things where you start to realize you can't teach people that killing is wrong by killing someone. It's not logical. That's always going to be our first response. We want that as human beings. We want that sense of closure. We want that sense of vengeance. But I think you have to rise above what your emotions tell you and start thinking about it from a more logical point of view.
There's also this case in Mississippi of a convicted double murderer, Willie Jerome Manning. He's been on death row for nearly 2 decades, but he's been denied a DNA test. The argument being apparently against him is that the evidence is so overwhelming there's no need for a DNA test. But given that we now know that so many people on death row have been exonerated through DNA, do you think it should be mandatory for everybody facing execution just to have the DNA regardless?
Absolutely it should, because you know, when you're relying on other evidence, say for example eyewitness testimony, people get confused sometimes. Sometimes they don't see exactly what they thought they saw. Maybe they were a little too far away. Maybe they were like me and just have really bad eyesight. They may think they're telling the truth 100%, but then whenever you actually do the DNA testing, that cuts to the heart of the matter. That shows whether the person was actually there at the crime scene or not. So it doesn't matter what you have. I mean, if you really want to the heart of the matter, if you really want justice, then there's no reason why you shouldn't do the DNA testing.
America is moving slowly but surely, state by state, to getting rid of the death penalty. Do you think that, given particularly your experience and others like you, victims of huge miscarriages of justice, would it just be better for America if they got rid of it completely? And that, if you had somebody who committed some atrocity, you just put them in solitary confinement the rest of their lives. That's what you do. But you don't take their life, because if you do, there is no way back if a mistake is then brought out.
Exactly. And so much in the legal system involves politics. You have so many people that even when DNA testing comes up that shows that the person wasn't at the crime scene, you still have so many people that don't want to admit they made a mistake. If the person is in a prison cell for the rest of their lives, at least they're not dead. At least there is still time to right it at some time in the future. But once you kill somebody, it's over.
Well, Damien, every time I interviewed you, it's the third time now, you've looked better than you did the time before. You look a lot more relaxed now.
Thank you.
A lot better fed than last time I saw you as well. You're obviously getting some good food down you.
I am.
And some sun on your face and everything else, and all the normal things we all take for granted. It's great to talk to you again.
Thank
you
so much.
The book's called Life After Death. It's a terrific read. If anyone hasn't read it, go and read that, and don't grumble about your own little problems in life, because this guy went to hell and back, and it's good to see you back.
Thank you so much.